He died alone, but left behind the blueprints for a world that still doesn't exist. Who was Nikola Tesla? An inventor? A madman? Or a messenger from a future no one was ready to accept? He envisioned the internet long before the internet existed. He dreamed of free, limitless energy and was silenced by billionaires. He built machines that seemed like magic and was branded a heretic. If everything he predicted has come true, why do we treat him like a ghost? This isn't just the story of an inventor. It's the story of a man who tried to light up the world and was swallowed by the shadows of his own time. To understand the present, we must see through the eyes of the man who saw it first. Because before everything, before electricity, before circuits, before wireless signals, there was only one question. What if the energy of the universe could be touched? New York. Winter of 1943. In a dim room on the upper floors of the New Yorker hotel, the body of an elderly man lies still on the bed. Surrounding him, notebooks filled with strange symbols, intricate sketches, and blueprints for machines that were never built. He died alone, drowning in debt, shunned by the industry he once electrified, and nearly erased from public memory. But this man was no ordinary recluse. His name was Nikola Tesla. And decades before dying in obscurity, he had been celebrated as a scientific marvel, a man who bent electricity to his will, like a conductor leading a symphony of lightning. The police report was short, no signs of foul play, just a heart, quietly defeated by age and isolation. But the FBI didn't hesitate. Within hours, federal agents stormed the room and seized everything, every scrap of paper, every diagram. The documents were classified as sensitive to national security. They were handed over to the Office of Alien Property, an agency that investigated foreign nationals during wartime. Years later, the person assigned to examine Tesla's belongings would be none other than John G. Trump, an MIT physicist and uncle to Donald Trump. His conclusion: the materials were brilliant, but posed no immediate threat. Yet many of those files remain sealed to this day. What makes this scene even more remarkable is not just the mystery of what he may have invented in his final days, but the staggering contrast to who Nikola Tesla once was, the very embodiment of a visionary, adored by the press, pursued by tycoons, cheered by crowds. In 1893, he astonished the world by lighting the Chicago World's Fair with his alternating current system, an event that didn't just dazzle spectators. It rewired the world. It changed, forever, the way energy would be produced and distributed across the planet. But what happened to that man? How did his name vanish from science books, while others, like Thomas Edison and Guglielmo Marconi, claimed credit for breakthroughs Tesla had helped shape? How does someone who foresaw wireless communication, drones and smartphones end up a forgotten figure, feeding pigeons in Central Park, surviving on crackers? Perhaps the answer lies in Tesla's very nature. He didn't chase wealth. He chased possibility. He wasn't just a scientist, he was a seeker. For him, electricity wasn't merely a force, it was a mystical key, a pathway to understanding the invisible architecture of the universe. He spoke freely about wireless power, anti-gravity machines, and interplanetary signals. And for a while, the world believed him. Investors backed him. Journalists followed him. Governments listened. But there was one problem. Tesla didn't play by the rules. He rejected patents as one might reject a pact with the devil. He refused to bend his vision to fit the demands of business. Above all, he was a radical idealist. While Edison, the most public of his rivals, was pragmatic, methodical, and commercially shrewd, Tesla operated on another frequency altogether. The clash was inevitable. The result, one of the most electrifying rivalries in the history of science. A battle for the future of power, the war of the currents. But the true fascination with Tesla lies beyond that war. Because he is more than a historical figure. He is a paradox in motion, a mirror reflecting a universal conflict between unrestrained genius and the machinery of commerce, between vision and viability, between the man who sees the future and a world still bound to the present. In this documentary, we'll dive deep into Tesla's extraordinary life, from the charged fields of his childhood in Croatia to the whirring labs of New York City, from dazzling triumphs to lonely years of scientific exile. We'll explore his most transformative inventions, his most controversial theories, and the enduring enigma of his final days. Because to understand how Nikola Tesla became the seer of science, we must return to where it all began, to a forgotten corner of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, to a stormy night in 1856, when, as legend has it, the skies exploded in lightning, just as he entered the world. Smiljan, July 10th, 1856. A remote village in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, now part of modern-day Croatia. A place surrounded by dense forests and silent mountains. That night, the sky exploded with electric fury. A violent thunderstorm swept through the region, its lightning bolts so relentless that the local parish hesitated to officially record the birth. "He will be a child of the storm," the midwife reportedly said. To which his mother, Nikola Tesla, calmly replied, "No, he will be a child of the light." Perhaps it was just folklore, but the metaphor would prove prophetic. From an early age, Nikola Tesla displayed an uncanny sensitivity to light, to sound, and above all, to electricity. Still a child, he suffered a profound trauma, the sudden tragic death of his older brother Dane, who was widely seen as the true prodigy of the family. The accident, he was thrown from a horse, some accounts say, happened right before Nikola's eyes, and it left scars that never fully healed. From that moment on, the boy began experiencing visions, hypersensitivity, and episodes of intense withdrawal. Many biographers believe this was the fracture, where a normal childhood ended, and a mind unlike any other began to take shape. A mind destined to exist on the edge between reality and the unimaginable. Tesla didn't just see the world, he felt it, almost synesthetically. He was plagued by hallucinations, by flashes of blinding light, followed by vivid mental images of machines that didn't yet exist. By the age of 12, he was already designing elaborate mechanisms in his head, so detailed he would later say he rarely needed to sketch before building. His father, Milutin Tesla, was an Orthodox priest and a poet, a man of words. He hoped Nikola would follow a religious path. But it was his mother, Juka, who awakened his true vocation. Though illiterate, she possessed a prodigious memory and extraordinary mechanical intuition. She invented household gadgets, mastered complex weaving tools, and worked with a finesse that astonished even professional craftsmen. In a world where technical knowledge was reserved for men, Nikola Tesla became Nikola's first inventor and his most formative influence. As a teenager, Nikola became obsessed with the invisible. He studied electricity on his own, captivated by the secrets of magnetism and light. But the world around him quickly proved too small for his curiosity. His formal education was a series of brilliant ascents and sudden collapses. He studied electrical engineering in Graz, Austria, where he astonished professors with his photographic memory and his ability to calculate integrals entirely in his head. But it was also there that he began to suffer the first signs of mental and physical exhaustion, driven by an obsessive pursuit of perfection. Then came the spark. During a lecture on the Gram dynamo, a machine powered by direct current, Tesla stood up and said he could redesign the entire motor, eliminate the brushes, abandon the commutator. His classmates laughed. It was technical heresy. But in his mind, Tesla already saw it. What he would later call the rotating magnetic field of an alternating current motor. At that moment, he didn't yet know it, but he had just taken the first step toward what would become the War of the Currents, a battle that would define the future of global energy. The road, however, would be anything but smooth. Forced to abandon his studies due to financial hardship, Tesla spent years drifting between cities and menial jobs, from Maribor to Budapest, from Paris to Prague, until he was finally hired by the Continental Edison Company. There, he received his first major assignment, to assist with Edison's expanding empire in the United States. In 1884, at the age of 28, he boarded a ship to New York with 4 cents in his pocket, a book of poetry, and a sketch for what he called a universal wireless power system. Upon arrival, he went straight to Edison's office. "You have invented great things," Tesla reportedly told him. "I've come to show you how to improve them." Edison was skeptical, but intrigued. He hired the young man. For months, Tesla worked tirelessly, optimizing the company's motors and generators. Edison promised him $50,000, a fortune at the time, if he could improve their efficiency. Tesla delivered. But when he asked for the reward, Edison allegedly laughed and said, "You don't understand the American sense of humor." Devastated, Tesla quit. It was a crushing betrayal, but also a turning point. Broke and alone, he dug ditches to survive. And yet, in those trenches of humiliation, the fire never went out. In fact, it burned brighter. It was in that low point that Tesla began to refine the vision that would define the rest of his life. A world powered not by greed, but by a current that flowed freely, cleanly, across continents, without wires, without limits, without being controlled by profit-driven empires. Because Tesla didn't just want to invent, he wanted to liberate, to free mankind from the drudgery of manual labor, to free ideas from the shackles of monetization, to free energy from the hands of those who hoarded it. But to do that, he would have to face powers far greater than he imagined. And his first true adversary would be the very man who once laughed at his dreams, Thomas Edison. And so the stage is set for one of the most epic confrontations in the history of modern science. The year is 1888. At an assembly of America's leading electrical engineers, Nikola Tesla walks onto the stage. Facing him are the bright minds of the era, some skeptical, others intrigued, all alert. He stands there with aristocratic poise and a thick Slavic accent. He introduces what he believes is his greatest achievement to date, an alternating current motor, efficient, elegant, revolutionary. For decades, the electric grid was dominated by direct current, a system held together fiercely by Thomas Edison's empire. But direct current had its limits. It required power plants every few miles, and power decayed over long distances. Tesla offered a radically better solution: alternating current. It could travel hundreds of miles with minimal loss. This wasn't just a technical choice, it was philosophical. Edison's direct current represented centralized control, gate-kept energy. Tesla's alternating current promised decentralization, access, reach, and ultimately, power. In the audience sat George Westinghouse, an industrial magnate with a nose for transformation. Days later, he appeared at Tesla's lab with an offer: purchase Tesla's alternating current patents for $60,000, a fortune at the time, plus royalties for every unit generated by his system. For the first time, the world seemed ready to listen to Tesla. A powerful alliance was born, one that would challenge Edison's empire. Thus began the War of Currents, a fierce duel fought not just in labs, but in courtrooms, in public forums, on city streets. Edison, fearing he'd lose his monopoly, launched a smear campaign. He held public demonstrations, electing animals with alternating current to paint it as dangerous. He even proposed using alternating current in the electric chair, linking Tesla's system to death. Tesla refused to descend into melodrama. He continued refining his technology with mathematical rigor and quiet confidence. Then, in 1893, he and Westinghouse were awarded the Chicago World's Fair lighting contract, an opportunity to prove alternating current superiority to the world. When the lights went on, over 100,000 lamps powered by alternating current illuminated the fairgrounds. It was awe in motion. Tesla, the conductor of an invisible orchestra. The next triumph, the Niagara Falls hydroelectric project, the first to transmit alternating current over long distances. Tesla had won the war, technically, scientifically, morally. His vision would electrify the planet. But paradoxically, his ascent also began his decline. When the world embraced his system, Tesla made an extraordinary decision. He waived his royalties. Westinghouse's company was under financial strain. Tesla tore up the very contract that would have made him a multi-millionaire. "I did not invent for money," he said. "I invented for progress." That moment marked a profound turning point. Tesla ceased to be merely an inventor. He assumed the mantle of a scientific prophet, one who could see beyond the boundaries of knowledge to transform civilization itself. But idealism came at a price. Without the financial means to protect and expand his boldest ideas, he became dependent on fickle backers, public opinion, and media whim. And the next great project, an electromagnetic tower poised to transmit energy wirelessly across the globe, required a faith nearly blind. Tesla had won one battle. Now he faced the solitude of a crusade against the limits of industry, science, and time itself. At the turn of the 20th century, while most inventors refined the known, Nikola Tesla looked beyond the horizon, into realms where science and fantasy converge. His next venture bore a name as enigmatic as ambition itself: Wardenclyffe. The vision was breathtakingly simple and impossibly bold, a tower intended to beam electrical energy wirelessly to every corner of the Earth. Like air carries sound or light traverses space, Tesla believed the planet itself could act as a giant conductor, a living antenna poised to radiate power. He wasn't dreaming. Backed by his initial patron, J.P. Morgan, the titan of Wall Street, Tesla acquired land in Shoreham, New York, and began erecting a colossus. A 190-foot-tall tower crowned with a metal dome, designed to unleash electromagnetic waves across oceans. This was no mere engineering feat. It was a utopia in steel and copper. To Tesla, Wardenclyffe was more than infrastructure. It was liberation. Free, unlimited electricity could irrigate deserts, heat homes, power ships, and light distant villages, all without burning a drop of coal. He envisioned it as a new dawn for mankind. When electricity shall be free as the air, he wrote, there will be a new human uplift. But there was a flaw Tesla either ignored or could not foresee. For Morgan and the financiers of the era, free power wasn't just unprofitable, it was dangerous. The moment they learned Tesla intended to transmit energy, not merely radio signals, funding was abruptly cut. If you cannot charge for it, Morgan is rumored to have said, why invest? With cash dried up, the dream stalled. The tower, once a cathedral of possibility, fell into decay. In 1917, what remained was pulled down, its copper sold to settle debts. But for many, its demolition symbolized much more. It marked the end of a scientific utopia. Isolated and disillusioned, Tesla lamented, the world is not ready for my technology. Everything I do comes before its time. The tower fell, and with it, a spark of hope for boundless, universal energy. Desperation mounting, Tesla pleaded for new backers. His proposals, ever more visionary, increasingly technical, sounded incoherent to many. To the press, he transformed from scientific hero to eccentric. A man who spoke to pigeons, who avoided handshakes for fear of germs, who claimed he received messages from afar. The public reclassified him, no longer a genius, but a wizard of electricity. Meanwhile, rivals advanced. Figures like Marconi, who built upon Tesla's patents to develop wireless communication, collected accolades. In 1909, Marconi earned the Nobel Prize in Physics, using principles Tesla had already patented. It was a silent blow, but a deep one. Tesla didn't respond with bitterness. Instead, he retreated into his private worlds, conceiving seismic oscillators that could, in theory, trigger earthquakes, and vertical aircraft prototypes that foreshadowed modern drones. He continued to dream of interplanetary communication, solar energy, and controlling weather. But the world moved on. Funds disappeared. Doors closed. In the 1920s, Tesla made his home in cheap hotels, often unable to afford his own bills. His public speeches became abstract echoes of a mind unanchored by the mundane. When he claimed to have invented a death ray capable of grounding fleets of aircraft, the world sneered. But the US government watched. During World War II, Tesla fell under FBI surveillance. When he died in 1943, his papers were seized. This period was Tesla's true ordeal, not merely the loss of money or fame, but of being heard. A world consumed by industrial logic had no place for profits. And yet many of Tesla's ideas, wireless transmission, clean energy, automation, would become the bedrock of 21st century innovation. Tesla lived his triumphs and tragedies in equal measure. And though time swallowed him, his ideas endured, flowing like invisible currents in the minds of generations to come. Decades have slipped by since Nikola Tesla passed away alone in room 3327 of the New Yorker hotel. For a time, his name faded into the margins of history, eclipsed by mainstream scientific icons, overshadowed by businessmen who knew how to monetize his innovations more effectively. But time, like the waves he studied so passionately, has a way of returning. Slowly, Tesla's image resurfaced, not merely as an inventor, but as something far more powerful, a symbol. Years after his death, the record was set straight, albeit too late. In 1943, the same year Tesla died, the United States Supreme Court invalidated the major patents held by Guglielmo Marconi, long celebrated as the inventor of radio, and acknowledged Tesla as the true pioneer of wireless communication. It was a posthumous act of technical justice, confirming what Tesla had always known. His ideas were light years ahead of his time. Today, Tesla is more than a name. He is an idea, a promise, a haunting reminder that progress does not always walk the well-trodden path of profit, but often strides along the lonely trails blazed by visionaries. His concepts, wireless energy, automation, artificial intelligence, precision weaponry, have re-emerged at the core of scientific and military debates. Multinational corporations now battle over patents he once tried to sell for mere pennies. And one of the most valuable companies in the world, Tesla Inc., bears his name as a tribute to a spirit that defies both technical and temporal boundaries. But Nikola Tesla's legacy is not only technological. He compels us to reconsider the relationship between science, ethics, and power. In a world where energy remains one of the most contested and unequally distributed resources, his vision of a global, free, decentralized electrical grid no longer feels like utopia. It becomes a provocative challenge. Why not? Perhaps Tesla was never defeated. Perhaps he was simply born too early. In this century, a time when information travels faster than light and clean energy has emerged as the planet's lifeline, his ideas find their fertile ground at last. What once seemed like madness becomes reality. 5G networks, wireless power transfer, machine intelligence, and space exploration all trace their lineage to his daring vision. Modern science gradually vindicates that solitary man who spent his days feeding pigeons in Central Park, sketching cosmic towers on cafe napkins. Not because he was always correct, but because he dared to ask the questions no one else would listen to. "The present is theirs," he once wrote, "but the future that I have worked toward, that is mine." Perhaps Tesla invented more than coils and turbines. Perhaps his greatest legacy is a posture toward the unknown, the courage to dream the impossible, the boldness to challenge what is accepted, and the unwavering belief that when guided by a noble ideal, knowledge can liberate rather than imprison humanity. Every time we swipe a smartphone screen, connect wirelessly, or discuss clean energy, we are, somehow, answering the call of that prophet of science who dared to envision a freer, fairer, more electrified world. And now a question remains, not about what Tesla foresaw, but whether we are ready to fulfill the future he saw, and a world so long refused to see. If you've been captivated by this journey through the brilliant and often misunderstood mind of Nikola Tesla, be sure to explore the other biographical episodes on our channel. Each is the product of meticulous research, unwavering commitment to historical accuracy, and a narrative designed to inform, provoke, and inspire. Subscribe to stay informed of our next films, and share this one with those who value knowledge of substance. Your support is essential to help us continue creating deep, independent content. And if you'd like to expand the experience beyond the screen, visit our store, home to an exclusive curation of powerful, enigmatic, and unique literature, featuring history's greatest figures. See you in the next chapter.